Good day, YouTubers. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls from all around the world. So after last week doing some decorations and stuff, it was a nice change of pace. They put us back on rubbing stakes. So I did look forward in the prints. And there's some more cool stuff coming up. But they wanted us to do these rubbing stakes down the hall, finish off and the prints didn't show it going all the way to the bottom like I've got it here now. But later on, after we get to do some decorations, they showed it again going all the way to the bottom. So I said, well, as torturous as this is, I'm going to go ahead and go all the way to the bottom. So I got one side done, and I'm going to have to turn the ship over and do the other side next week, because after the rubbing stakes step, they wanted us to put the template on there and start cutting out holes for the cannons, because the step of rubbing stakes that we're supposed to complete gets us low enough to cover all the cannon holes. And after I watched some other videos on YouTube of guys cutting out their cannon holes, I noticed that some folks had boards that were coming loose in between the two holes that they were opening up, and that made me thank myself for adding all that extra glue and pinning and all that other mess that we did, because I don't think we're going to have any trouble with boards coming loose, especially the main planking boards that are underneath the rubbing stakes, because we glued the top and the bottom edges to the planks above and after it to make sure not only was it glued to the framing members, but it was also glued together as a unit. So hopefully we won't have any trouble when we do those cannon holes. But like I said a minute ago, we got to do all this rubbing stakes on the other side first. I'll clean that up with the Dremel. But last week we did these railings and bells and stuff, pre-manufactured homemade bell and bell holder, missing parts in the kit, put them on, and then in the next step it was to go even further down, leaving a small area down near the keel line that wasn't done until later on, way below where the cannons are. So now we got to do more rubbing stakes on this side. Go all the way to the bottom, which is quite a bit, probably I didn't count all the ones we did the other day, but I spent hours and hours this week trying to get all these done on this one side. And I did it. Now I got to do the other side. Rubbing stakes go pretty quick, but there's a whole bunch of them. And like you see right here, we got a lot of sliver cuts on the end of some of these boards. And each one of them got to be marked up with the pencil, and then very carefully cut them to the correct shape. You can see all these angles. Once I got past, when the board wants to lay on here, it lays straight without being twisted or curved up because of the way it wants to lay. Then it's just a matter of that little cut on the end. But the further down you get near the keel line, the more angles are in there. And you can see here in this center section, there's a bunch of little sliver cuts in order to make up for that way that the board wants to lay, so you can get them to lay straight and butt up against each other nice and tight. Lots of glue on them, and then clean that mess off after you mush it down. And then using this part of the tweezers, I would banish, how you say that, those edges down, because there was glue behind them, and you wanted to varnish them down to where they're almost plumb and flush with each other. And along with wiping in the rag and going back and varnishing, that helped them lock in, and the glue would set quicker. And it would go nicer than the regular planking did. So you can see once I got past this last straight row here, they started twisting on me again, and I was most of the time starting from the front to keep a better look in the front. And all this is going to get painted, sanded, and painted, so it doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to fill it in where you don't have a lot of gaps and stuff. So do good quality work, you got to take the time and do it right. Get all those things to lay flat and smooth. We will sand this, but it's not going to need a whole lot because the rubbing stakes cover up all the defects from the planking. So next week we're going to start up here. Lay them boards. Usually takes 3, even though they're full length. You get to about here, and that first board runs out, and then you got another one to about here, and then that board runs out, and then you got a third one. And the boards are only so long that come in the kit. All these ones back here are cut-offs from that process, and I'm able to reuse a lot of that, and I'm able to reuse some of the scrap from the sliver cuts. Every now and then I'll find a piece in here that really closely matches, and then I'll shape it. This thing is working out pretty good for shaping and squaring up and cleaning up a cut. And go down or up, and then I got it on the slowest speed right now just so I have better control and I can see what it's doing as I push the material in there. But it really makes it easy to shape, get that board perfectly fit. So that's what we got to look forward to next week. Is finishing the rubbing stakes on this side. That's going to take at least 2 days, good solid work. You got to be dedicated. You got to have discipline. Get through it. You can't just give up because you're tired of doing it. So yeah, there's our next, after we get the other side done, we're going to go all the way to the keel and not leave this last part just because it's a pain in the butt. And the other reason I want to go all the way to the keel instead of leaving this last part is because we've already got decorations on the top here. And the more I'm turning this thing over and sideways and all that, there's a better chance I got of damaging something I've done on the deck. So I want to go ahead and get this done before we get too much further, so we don't have any chance of damaging something on the deck because of the way we're laying the ship to work on it. But after we get those rubbing stakes done next week, then we get to do some cannon holes, lay out and cut out. Those are going to be tedious. There might be a subframe that goes in that opening, and looks like after all the cannon holes are cut, we're doing more railings and decorations, which is good. Now we're starting to create some better effects on the decks. I like that. Yep, more railings and decorations. Yeah, there's a good shot there. All the railings we got to look forward to after we get these cannon holes done. So, can we make it look like that? Oh boy, do we have a challenge ahead of us. Good grief almighty. Some of them holes are round too. We might be able to just drill them out with the right side drill bit. Maybe. Let's go check on the birds. The fowl. Huh? 2 ducks sleeping. 1 hen perched. What are them other ones doing? Oh, look at them on the ladder. One up there on the roosting bar. Yeah, that's what we like to see. They're getting a little bit of that fan up there. Wow. Pterodactyl. I put some ears of corn out here this morning. See if I get to work on them or not. Good morning. Good morning. Like eating bugs? Buck. Buck, buck, buck. Their dust bath has got regular sand in it, like play sand, and some wood ashes, and then a bunch of rose petal cuttings and stuff from the garden. And we hung them some little seed baskets. They've been tearing them up. They haven't messed with that cabbage yet. Looks like they pecked on it a little bit. So let's see what we can do today.